Welcome to Honor Your True Story with Antonia Nelson, a podcast dedicated to sharing inspiring stories of hope, kindness, love, and compassion. Listen in as Antonia's guests share pivotal moments, forks in the road, ups and downs, and wisdom earned on the road of life.
This is Honor Your True Story. I'm Antonia Nelson. And today I have the pleasure of speaking with Donna Accardo. Donna's the owner of Inner Designed. She's a trained facilitator of Geotran, an energetic modality that reduces stress and anxiety and allows people to be fully in choice in their lives. Donna's also a trained and licensed architect. So welcome, Donna. And boy, do we need some of that, reducing stress and anxiety right now, right?
Exactly. It's quite a time with global pandemics and civil unrest and backbiting. There's a lot going on energetically and emotionally.
So how did you go? Well, let me ask you this. What drew you to architecture? So when did you know that's what you wanted to do?
Well, interestingly enough, I grew up, my dad was in the oil business, so we moved around a lot and we lived in the suburbs USA, whether it was Oklahoma or Southern California or whatever. So I didn't really have an experience of architecture as a child, as a job. Like if I'm in New Orleans now, if I would have grown up here, I think I would have known earlier. But my sister and I have a twin sister, and we were picking college majors, and we're looking through the giant catalog from the university, and my mom said, how about architecture? Because we drew all the time. Like we were constantly drawing. She goes, how about architecture? And it was like the room lit up. It was like this moment. And it was so surreal. And it was like, I just knew. It was like, oh yeah, that's it. That would be awesome. And when you start something like that, you know that when you get into it, you might find out it's not. But it actually ended up being a wonderful career. And I was one of the few that didn't switch majors and kept on with it. And it was really, in retrospect, I found my seventh grade diary, and my family had gone to the beach. And there was these little cabins on the beach. So I had drawn in my diary a site plan with all the different cabins and like labeled ours, and then drew a floor plan of our cabin. This is where everybody slept, and which is just ridiculously funny. Like I'm drawing site plans and floor plans and labeling our experience in graphic form. And so looking back, I don't know how I didn't know, but but it was interesting to I'm glad I lined up with it.
That's a cool story. I love that your mom knew on some level, right?
Yeah.
And that you knew on some level years before, and we're already putting down the breadcrumbs. I love that. And that you would go in with your sister. Now, is your sister still in architecture also?
Yes, she started off with interiors because she really liked but then when she was halfway through the courses, she's like, well, I can do interiors as an architect, but I can't do architects as interiors. So she switched. So we tried not to do the same thing, but it didn't really work. Yes, she has a big firm in New Orleans, and she's very happy with her architectural career too.
Sweet. So how did you make the jump, or what was behind the jump from the outer design as an architect to the inner design, which is the name of your business now? And if you'd share what that all means to you.
Well, it was a long jump. It was more of an integration of the both of them. I guess in 2005, by then I had two small children, and I had an architecture firm with my best friend was my partner, was my partner, I guess. And we started a firm, and I mean, I just had the perfect life, but I was very stressed out and very overwhelmed. And my husband traveled a lot, so I was kind of like a single mom with no credit, and was just locked and loaded, had a lot of anger, and just outwardly nothing needed to switch, but I wasn't happy. So my naturopath that I had been going to for health reasons for 15 years started doing this energy work, this modality called Geotran. And I went to an appointment with her, and she's like, well, hey, I learned this new stuff. It's coming up. It's coming up for you to do this. And I'm like, all right, whatever. So it was strange. I mean, I'm like a science mind and architect. And even though she had helped me through 15 years of very much alternative medicine, because I had a lot of problems and the doctors couldn't find out what it was, and she could. So I really trusted her at this point. So that was I'm so grateful that I was introduced to it by someone I really, really trusted. And she did this session with me, and it was like stuff just moved. I was like lighter and had more space to appreciate what was there, and I was happier. And then I got excited. I was like, oh, let's work on this. I like to solve problems as an architect. And so we started doing some sessions together, and things moved so rapidly but so gracefully at the same time that I was like, all right, I want to know what this is. So I actually went to go learn the modality myself in 2005, a month before Hurricane Katrina happened. So I had, and I was, my gut was telling me, like, you've got to do this now. And I'm like, why can't you just wait? And I was like, no, you got to do it now. And then when Katrina hit, I mean, it devastated New Orleans. I mean, there was 250,000 homes that were devastated, like total gut jobs, if not teardowns. And my naturopath ended up moving to Oklahoma. And so I wouldn't have been able to see her anymore. So I had this modality to support myself, and we had lost our home. My parents did, my sister did, my brother lost his sister-in-law lost their company. So there was a lot of loss, and it was like, where are we going to live? And so I had this, and when you evacuate for a hurricane, I know that you guys in the north, you have storms that come all of a sudden, right? Like we know ours is coming for, a couple of days, and so you never know what's going to happen or where it's going to hit, but you're like, okay, let's evacuate. So we went to go see the in-laws, but it wasn't coming here at the time. It was going to Alabama or Florida or something. So we didn't bring much because, it wasn't really coming here, but just in case it was time to go see the in-laws anyway. So when it ended up turning course and hitting Mississippi, but, flooding New Orleans, we didn't have much. We had a t-shirt, a pair of shorts and flip-flops, but I had my manual with me. So I used that modality. And what I'm grateful for is that what you need comes before you need it. I think other people find other things that support them in their life. And I trust that everybody gets the help they need when they need it. If they're, especially if they're listening, if they can really accept it. And it seems like the breadcrumbs, like the architecture thing, are laid out in front of you if you can listen. And when you really feel an urge to do something, like listen to it, like there's a reason, and so it was beautiful because then I had a way to support myself. And then when we ended up moving back to New Orleans after a couple of months, I had a way of supporting my family and the other people that were just dealing with this loss. I mean, nobody got out of it, but just a way to digest it, kind of like with the stress and the overwhelm before. The circumstance didn't change, but am I able to digest what is happening right now? Am I able to process what is happening quickly so that I can make choices, so that I can move in the direction that I need to for my family, so that I can have peace, even if things are a mess, so that I can really just be solid and connect more to the next steps as they do unfold. So I am forever grateful for that gift that came into my life.
Yeah, and talk about opportune time, my gosh. And I did not know that. I did not know I did not know you lost your home. I mean, that was back in the day when I first met you. I didn't know that you lost your home and all the, other people in your family. I mean, I certainly knew what happened in New Orleans. And
well, the gift is that, you think the world's going to end if you lose everything. And it didn't. I mean, the gift is, and I was glad that I was aware of that gift before. Sometimes you're not aware of the gift till 10 years later. But it was like, wow, I'm not my stuff. I miss my stuff. I had a couple of things I really, really miss, but I'm not my stuff. And it was very freeing, actually. Very freeing now. It's like, well, it's just stuff, and you find out you don't really need a whole lot of stuff,
Yeah, that is a really great thing to be aware of as early on as possible in life, I think. So I know you have a lot of tools and things that you do in your work. Is there one small thing that you could share with us right now? Like maybe something that could bring some, I don't know, stress relief?
Well, I guess if we were on a video thing, I could show you some of the tools you can do. Maybe I can explain them. There's one, if we're talking about listening to your inner guidance.
Yeah, let's do that one. That's
okay. One of the tools that you can do, let's see if I can explain this on audio only, is you can take your right hand and put it around your navel, like make a C around your navel. So like you take your right hand, just put it right on your belly, or your belly button's in the middle, and just hold it there. And that's just one of the energetic tools that opens up your inner hearing and your outer hearing. So when you're trying to figure out why your 3-year-old is, screaming about, too many or too little raisins, you can just like put your hand on your belly, or if you've got a call that you're making with a client and trying to establish what they really need as opposed to what's coming out of their mouth, you can just put your hand on your belly and just breathe in just for about 12 to 20 seconds and just pause and listen. I think a lot of people don't know how to pause and to listen. I know that I haven't. I mean, my monkey mind is going 1,000 miles an hour, and I don't naturally or easily pause, or because there's a whole convention going on up in there in my head all the time, and a committee going back and forth, and so this has enabled me. Plus, it gives your physical body something to do. I think that helps me because my physical body is doing something, and it makes you say, hey, I'm stopping here, even just for a second.
Yeah, definitely.
Take a deep breath in and deep breath out. And then another one could be just put your hand on your head. This allows you to just be in present time and still. Sometimes when you're in the car and you realize you haven't been in the car in the last 5 miles and you're like, uh-oh, pay attention. You can just say, all right, Donna, come back in, and just put your hand on your head. And it doesn't matter which hand is first, but you do want to put both. So you just put one on your hand for about 10, 12 seconds and then switch and just breathe in. And this really enables you to just be present in the moment.
So this is great. As you explained that, I also have that committee in my head, and have also spent many years being a fixer of problems. So if I see something, it's like right away, I'm like, okay, here's what we're going to do. And so, this work has really helped me be able to step back and get into my body. And what I love is I was able to attend a gathering that you offered this last week. I love that even after taking the class, that there's a community that you're a part of for support.
Well, and I'm glad that that's how I met you, probably in 2005. Like when I started, that there was a community of people doing this work so that you can see how others use it and get some other ideas about how to apply it to your life. I'm very, like, being an architect, it's, solve problems all day long. So I'm very practical minded. So I like the practicality of it. Like, I want to go here either emotionally or physically, and I just can't. I can't, my dad is having some memory issues and some issues at this time. And sometimes compassion is what is being called for in the moment, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes I can't. I've got I've got dad issues. I didn't even know I had dad issues until boom, there they are, right? And you're like, wow, why am I mad that he needs help, right?
Yeah.
I'm a human being. Like, our stuff comes up, we're triggered, right? And I'm sitting next, I'm watching myself go, what is wrong? Why are you upset that he needs help right now, right? And so this work helps me access. I know compassion is needed. I know that it's my job. I mean, I'm the one that's off. I'm the one that is. So how do I not get mad at myself? How do I have compassion for myself and address, like, just calmly what's going on? Well, clearly you've got some issues. My dad didn't really take care of much of me. Why do I got to take care of him? I mean, my issues come up, right?
Sure.
I'm not saying I don't love my dad. We're all human beings, right?
Yeah.
And your stuff comes up and you get triggered in places and stuck. So, then I can breathe in and go, wow, man, something's up. How can I spend, 10 minutes just really addressing this so I'm not going to abandon my dad because I'm triggered. And I don't want to get into the codependent trap, which I have a very strong tendency to pull into, of like, I'm supposed to, and I have to. So then I do it out of that anxiety and that response. And then I get resentful. So now I'm mad at, because I'm supposed to do all this stuff, and I'm supposed to be there, and I'm supposed to give up my life to go help him and all this other stuff. And that's not true either. So just finding the choice and what's right for me, again, listening to that inner guidance and that inner knowing. You can't listen to your inner knowing if your trigger is in charge and the CEO of your brain right now. And you can't you can't hear your own inner guidance of what needed when you are full in on, I have to fix this. This is when you're not in your own lane, when you're, I think a lot of codependency is just the controlling. It's really the need to control so that I can pretend like I'm in choice, but I'm not allowing the process to unfold too. So, it's really just about listening to what you need as a human being, because we all have you don't get out of your stuff.
Right.
Unfortunately, I would have loved to have gotten out of the Katrina stuff. I did not.
Yeah.
But I got a way through it with a lot of grace, and I was able to see the gifts and be able to move on and make decisions for what comes next in my life, and make decisions for my family and move on. And then I guess when you're not in the middle of survival mode or getting through something, just to be consciously planning out, I think the reason why I called it inner design was the company that I do now, sharing this work, is so that you can consciously create your life. Instead of just being in reaction to everything that's coming up in your life, you can really respond and really creatively create the life that you want. Oh, wow, man, I really want more of this. Well, how do I get that? And to be able to access and just upgrade and move to the next level of joy. I think I hate when people say that it's not a righteous intention to be happy. We came here that we express joy.
Yeah.
There's nothing, that's the whole point. If you're not having a good time, I'm not saying you don't have challenges and that you should always be happy. I'm not saying that. But there should be, even in the challenges, like the joy of the experience, the joy of the journey. Whatever it is, how can I fully experience life? I mean, how do you absolutely embrace and love the sunshine if it doesn't rain, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And you bring up a really good point about the knowing, like being able to pause enough to listen or to see or to feel what's going on versus just plowing through as always done. And I got to see that working with you on Monday in the group was I had no, I mean, the idea what I was going in there to work on was one thing. And well, the whole next day was like all these things came up. I'm like, what? And the good news was I was able to see them, to really see what was going on and to track it, where it was connected in life, and to be able to go in and do work around it instead of staying in the stuckness and trying to figure it out, which that's what my mind would always try to do is I can figure this out.
Yeah.
Well, you can figure it out, but you stay in the same place and you're just running around this loop. And so it felt so good to get off that train and go, oh, okay, now I can, now that I know this, I can make like you said, a different choice and respond differently.
Yeah. And it's really not even about psychoanalyzing yourself.
No,
it's just
not at
it's
all.
just about being aware of like, wow, I got some stuff up today instead of just blowing through.
Yes.
I've had some, that group was Monday night and I had a networking thing on Tuesday night and one last night that lasted till 9:00. And man, I woke up this morning just like, my body was like, dude, cut it out, like maybe you need to just rest tonight. Right. And whereas before I would have just pushed right through and said, well, this is what you wanted to do. We're going to do it. And I'm like, maybe I can change my mind. Maybe I can move what I was going to do tonight and make another choice because my body is telling me, wow, you need some zero scheduled time today. So it took I would like to say it took less long to be able to figure that one out, but but I'm grateful that I'm finally getting that one when your body says, so I have a tendency, my body will tell me when I'm not listening to my inner knowing, and I get the message and I get the message and I get the message and I ignore it, my body will always come back and say, I don't think so. Yeah. I told you. So
yeah. And then the listening to that and I found that it repeats, that I remember being in a class one time and this lady came, it was her first and only time. And she came to one of the gatherings and she said, oh, we have to do this again. I thought we just did this once in the class and that's the only time you ever have to do it. And I was like, okay, well, that's interesting. I'm not sure where you heard that, but yeah, you do need to do it again and, again and again and again because life, life goes on. Life is always changing, and
if people find different practices or different things that, I've got a good friend and she runs and that's how she gets grounded. That's how she gets centered. That's how she moves her physical body. She's outside, she's connecting with the environment. That really centers her for her day. When she doesn't run, she's off. I've got another friend that does yoga. I've got another friend that does meditation, or one that's really involved in a lot of prayer groups and a lot of prayer thing. To be able to find what works for you, to be able to, I guess, just center yourself enough to start over. So it's not about whether it's, this modality is just physically a way to make you stop and redirect. And it really clears a whole lot of things. And so, I don't know, my advice would be find whatever works for you. If anybody would love to try this, I would be more than happy to give them a demo or talk to them more about it, because it helped me. Just with my science mind, I needed something to do. Like, I tried meditation and I tried all these other things and I wasn't able to hold still long enough to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But this helps me like be still enough to be able to do those things now. And to be able to meditate on a level, or use something to be able to center myself or consciously start my day in a different way. So I love that there are so many doors and so many ways of finding a way to stop and pause and be on purpose.
Ooh, I like that. You should trademark that.
On
Pause and be
purpose.
on purpose. That's good. I was just thinking, like as you were saying that about, in the world, being able to find something that brings you back to you. So that, like you said, there can be a pause, even if it's just a moment, just to gather yourself,
Yeah.
and what happens when you do that, and how you, move forward in a different way.
Well, and I think, I guess another challenge came up this last year with a health crisis. I was diagnosed with breast cancer last April and had a double mastectomy in May, and had to get really, talk about, when I don't listen to things, your body says hello. I had been doing architecture firm and sharing this inner design work, this modality, for 10 years, and just essentially doing two jobs. Now, I don't think that was a bad decision, because I loved both of them. Like, I loved architecture and I loved sharing this work with people too, and really felt called to do both. And so I don't think I wasn't listening. But when it came to a point where I was like, okay, you can let the architecture thing go, I really heard clearly to do that. But I discounted it because I didn't really know how to do that, and letting go of essentially a job that is, funding, my household. And also, there's quite an identity with being the architect. You don't tell someone you're an architect and they go, oh, okay. Like, it's a cool job.
It is a cool job.
It is a fun job. And I've had much more fun with inner design than with architecture the last couple of years, and really heard to let it go. And I didn't listen. So when I kept trying to renegotiate with myself, so when the breast cancer thing came in, I was like, oh, dang. And I really heard really clearly, so now can you let it go? Can you have permission to do what you really have been wanting to do for years, but haven't had the nerve to do? And I was like, well, yeah, I can pull the cancer card and do that. Yeah, that's great. So it gave me, I guess, permission to do what I guess because I did not want, I did start to not want to do the architecture as much, but it wasn't loud. I have a really, where I struggle is letting things go. I let things go too long because I want to do everything. I have fear of missing out, right? And there's so many things, wonderful things that I want to do. And so anyway, that experience, I really had to get into my own inner knowing there. And then because I've got a condition where my liver doesn't work real well, and both of my parents have had trouble with medications and other things with their liver, being able to process those things. Chemo was, I was really concerned about taking chemo and radiation because of that. I have trouble with some margaritas and a Motrin. So, I really had to go against the norm of what the doctors were telling me the treatment needed to be. And it took way more inner knowing than I even knew I was capable of to be able to stand for making a decision in your life that went against the grain of how it's supposed to go. So this whole year has been a very, definitely had to use my own tools to be able to get really, really clear about what I need to do, about what my body was telling me that it needed. about being able to stand against opposing opinions and projections about what I'm supposed to do and how I'm supposed to do it. I think that there's, oh my goodness, even with our politics this last 2 years of what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do, and whether it's about the vaccine or abortion or there's such an argument of it's not okay to have a different opinion than anybody else right now.
Yeah.
And to be able to find the ability to understand someone else's opinion with, like, if I'm right, they don't have to be wrong. Like, they can be right for them and I can be right for me. And so with this treatment and my decisions on how to move forward, I've really, really had to get really strong with that. And it's been a life lesson that I'm sure will serve me well in the future as well. But getting very, very clear about what I want and what I don't want, and what's right for me and what's not right for me, and really listening to that gut with every pore of your being, saying, this is what's right for you and this is what's not right for you, and then actually listening.
Yeah.
And trusting really that.
Give yourself permission, as as should all of us be able to have, right? To be able to say what's right for us and what's not right for us.
Exactly.
And to know that.
And I've definitely had to do me with me, listen to what you would tell other people, right?
Yeah.
Listen, and to do the work and to do I've definitely had to do my own inner work around it. And I'm grateful that I have a process to do that. So
for sure. I mean, that's a big thing to walk through. And I'm glad you're through it, the other side, and feeling well. And
I had a year, my year checkup was last week. And everything's doing really well. And
awesome. That is awesome.
And I also know that, just like the Geotran, the modality that came up right before Katrina, like, if I need to move in a different direction or something else does come up, I'm available. I'm trusting that it will emerge. And I'll say, hey, you can support yourself doing this way. And I'm like, okay, all right.
Sweet. That is sweet. So I love everything that you've shared. And for people that are listening who want to know more and think like, well, I'd like to learn more, or maybe even have an experience with this or talk to you about this, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Probably to email. My email is in my website. My website is NOLA Inner Design, NOLA, which is New Orleans, Louisiana, innerdesign.com. And, I really, the ability, one of the pivots that COVID enabled me to do was to be able to expand. I mean, I name a company for New Orleans, right? I thought this was a local thing. You have to work with people one-on-one and you have to be there in person. And, when COVID hit, right after I signed a lease for an office that I couldn't have people in, there was the ability to go on Zoom and to meet with and really expand your territory. So now I can provide sessions and groups and classes on Zoom and in person and do a hybrid type event, which never in a million years would have thought would have even gone there, And so I love the gift in that little pivot. But nolainnerdesign.com, and I have groups. I'm actually teaching a 4-week series starting June 20th about inner guidance. And I'm actually going to teach and do an introductory lesson for those tools that you can use every day. It takes 10 minutes to really center yourself. And there's one of the tools helps you clear subconscious clearings around success, There's something you can use when you're actually stressed out and have anxiety about something. You're looking at your to-do list for the day to really clear the charge energetically so that you can have some space to be able to do your day with more grace, even if it's busy and is full of kids and to-dos and responsibilities and agendas, So we're going to use those tools and learn those tools, and we're going to apply them with daily meditations to really consciously connect to the inner guidance within, and really use that for clarity. I think most of our anxiety comes up around just the unknown. Mm-hmm. And there's, especially if you know a lot of stuff and your job, like mine, is to know stuff and to fix things and make decisions. It's very, very anxious place to be in the unknown, to be able to create a space to start an inner practice of connecting to your own inner guidance. There's no safer place than that, right?
Yeah.
And as a person that has challenges with that, this is an introductory, this isn't master meditation. This is, how do I center myself and connect in 10, 15 minutes? How can I start at begin creating a place for an expansion of who I am, of an expansion of what I want, an expansion of really living more on purpose. Although I think, as you know, these tools meet you wherever you're at. If you're a master meditator, come to the group. I can't imagine where this would bring you, because those tools of Geotran, they really bring you to further and further to your own authenticity and your own inner knowing. And there's an unlimited levels of expansion. So I am starting that on June 20th. We're going to go for 4 weeks. We're skipping July 4th week. So it'll be essentially 5 weeks of daily meditations. Everything will be recorded. So if you can't make the event live, I'll send the recording. If you can't meet at whatever time we all decide to meet in the morning for a 10-minute meditation, then I'll send it out or I'll send the recording immediately, so that when you do wake up, if you're in Pacific time, you'll have it available. Or if you can't get it to it that morning, you'd rather do your meditations at night, you can do it then too. But just cultivating a space and a practice for doing things more on purpose and really connecting to what's next in your life.
That sounds great. And I love that it's a group, it's a community to be able to walk through this with you and, with the other folks that are doing this.
Yeah. And once you have that class, you're actually, and you learn those tools, then I have monthly groups that you can come in every month. You can come 3 years from now and pop in. You'll be on the email list if you want to pop in anytime you're like, hey, I could use a little more support. This has been a pretty intense week, or I've got something I really need questions on or some support with. It's always perfect who shows up in those monthly group sessions. So
that is for sure. Well, awesome. So for everybody that's listening, all this information will be in Donna's, the notes underneath the podcast. So her website will be there, and you can go there and check out the classes that she's talking about. And, if it speaks to you, even in the littlest thing, check it out. Check it out. Check it out.
And thank you so much, Antonia.
Yeah, thanks for being here and sharing. I know this is near and dear to your heart, and I love what you're doing and how you're doing it. And thank you for all that you're doing.
Thank you as well. Your podcasts are wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Honor Your True Story. If you love what you heard, please share this podcast with a friend, and be sure to subscribe, rate, and review at Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen in.